Welcome to another episode of the MEGIN Spotlight series. Today we are delighted to welcome our strategic software partners, BESA GmbH, to the Spotlight. Joining us today are Dr. Tobias Scherg, CEO and Managing Director, and Dr. Harald Bornfleth, Vice President, Research and Product Management. Hi Toby and Harald, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Gabriele, for giving us the opportunity to share some insight into our work and the strategic partnership with MEGIN.
Yeah, thanks, Gabi. Great to be here.
So let's familiarize our viewers more with BESA, although to many of our viewers you will be well known. Toby, BESA was founded more than 25 years ago, which was still quite early in the development of the MEG field. What started the company's interest in EEG and MEG analysis software?
Well, to answer that, we have to go a little bit back in time to the beginning of BESA. So BESA was founded in 1995 by my uncle Michael Scherg under the name of MEGIS. MEGIS stands for MEG imaging software. So you can see how important MEG was even to that time for our company. Michael Scherg was a professor of neurophysics at the University of Heidelberg at that time, and he was head of section of biomagnetism from 1995 to 2000. This also involved the MEG laboratory. During this time, it was very difficult to analyze a large amount of data, and therefore the motivation was to develop a easy, available, reliable solution which was able to analyze this large amount of data, as well as to perform a high-quality source analysis. As Harald was part of this group at that time point, I guess he will give you some insight about this later. But if you take a closer look at our path, you will also discover that we were already active in 1989, where the first BESA version was brought to market, and the name was BESA DOS. So you can see it was on the very old platform DOS. And this could already be used for source analysis of evoked potentials.
Well, that sounds like a solid foundation and experience at BESA. Harald, since you've also been with BESA almost from the beginning, what changes have you seen to the MEG field and how do you feel it has evolved?
Yeah, when I first started out with BESA, it was in the MEG laboratory in Heidelberg, Germany, working together with a research group of Michael Scherg. At that time, the university hospital had just received a 122-channel whole-head MEG system. And we were sort of pioneering approaches to analyze for those days, huge amounts of data that this system generated. So we worked on tools for data review, for trigger and paradigm handling, etc. There were quite a few technical challenges at that time. So some of the MEG channels were notoriously bad, or they deteriorated over time, and the system needed to be warmed up. And that usually meant 1 or 2 days of downtime. In the meantime, every second week or so, we got a helium tank and we had to refill the liquid helium. That was sort of fascinating, but also slightly scary. And I think several things have matured a lot since then. So for example, the signal quality is now way better. The system is much more reliable. The helium issues have been resolved. And also the shielding from outside noise sources was a big issue in the past, but that's no longer the case.
MEG has certainly moved on and has improved its hardware and software, which brings me actually to the next question to you both. How did the strategic software partnership between MEGIN and BESA come about to develop MEGIN MEG Review? Can you tell our audience who might not be familiar with this, what is MEG Review and who is the target user? And can you tell us about the collaborative process between both companies to develop MEG Review? Maybe Toby, you first.
Well, thank you. Yes, so the typical user is for the software of MEGIN Review is usually working in the clinical setting. Therefore, the aim of the development was to introduce a workflow that fits the needs of a neurology department. To do so, the development teams of BESA and MEGIN developed a workflow-guided software that has clearly defined user guidance combined with a very intuitive user interface. The result of the software package is that we allow the user to perform the complete analysis of a patient from the raw data reviewing up to the reporting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, while we're talking about the collaborative process, We have actually realized quite early on in the project that both companies, MEGIN and BESA, wanted to achieve the same type of solution for the customer. So on both sides, we also had a strong scientific background that fed ideas into the project. And somehow, we also found that the way of communicating is kind of similar in Finland and in Germany. So it's quite direct, straight to the point, and really focused on the success of the project rather than on individual merits. So we had some very good and very long discussions, especially early on in the project, while the product took shape in our minds. And then, of course, we were also keen on bringing in the expertise of the customers who should use the product in the end. Maybe, Toby, you can speak a bit more about that again?
Yeah, for me in general, I want to say that the partnership of BESA and MEGIN has always been characterized by trust and respect. And I believe that this was the best basis for this fruitful collaboration we now experience, and that we can finally bring a next generation analysis software combined with the latest hardware on the market.
Well, the strategic collaboration established relationship seems like a great match between both companies. You mentioned the importance of the user in this process. Harald, while developing MEG Review, how have you incorporated user feedback and new developments, and also anticipated future user needs and desires?
Yeah, the MEGIN team, and also to some extent the BESA team, have talked to many key opinion leaders in the field to get their input on this software development for quite a while, actually, even before the project officially started, and then again and again during development to discuss ideas and concepts. And we received quite a long list of ideas and suggestions, and also change requests for things that we had put to them, which were already in planning, but maybe not yet 100% suitable for clinical use.
So the actual user input is essential, and supposedly you will have had an insight into how your customers have utilized MEG in their respective departments in the last 20 plus years, I guess. So Toby,
Sure.
Typically how is MEG Review incorporated into the operational flow of the epileptology department?
Well, the modality MEG is frequently used in the pre-surgical evaluation. So if you take patients with a proven pharmacoresistant epilepsy, they will undergo a lot of different diagnostic methods to get a very precise picture of the epilepsy itself. Especially the leptogenic serum is of high interest here. Not to mention that MEG has a very strong position in this workflow. This is exactly where BESA and MEGIN then come into play. The software from BESA paired with the hardware of MEGIN makes diagnostic much more accurate and robust. And it's more reliable than before. That's the most important thing now, and the availability is high. We can now co-register the MRI scan directly with the MEG scan and perform the source localization based on the individual anatomy of the patient. The result is that the process will directly be used next to the other results from the other modalities to plan the invasive procedures. You mean implanting electrodes, for example. It has always been a major objective of our collaboration to make this kind of diagnosis and this pre-surgical workup as far non-invasive as possible.
Harald, obviously there's a lot of work with software development, in what you're doing. And so what advice would you offer software developers who are interested in breaking into this field? Why do you find this work so rewarding?
Yeah, for a physicist like me, who's always worked in an interdisciplinary context, this is actually a bit of a dream, working with a technology that is only possible due to quantum physics, and use this technology to gain better insights into the functioning of the human brain. But also, if you're a pure software developer, I think this is a great example of a fantastic technology that is a little bit out of grasp for a normal human being who just wants to have a good user experience. In the past, I think this gap between high-tech measurement system and availability of software tools to really get the maximum use out of the information has been one of the big obstacles in getting MEG adopted by more users. This is the main challenge, to translate this very complex technology into user-friendly software with a huge motivation booster that this software that's developed here will help to improve human lives.
Yeah, I completely agree with your statement. It's a huge motivator to be improving human lives in your daily profession, I would think. So Toby, how do you think MEG will develop in other applications in the future?
Well, yes, this will definitely happen, that MEG will develop in the future. If you take a closer look at the past, there was always the demand for precise modality the people wanted to utilize to get the diagnosis more precise. But there was a flip side of the coin for the MEG. There was the cost of helium, for example, because of the helium boil-off. But this issue has been solved by MEGIN, so therefore the operational costs are not a showstopper anymore. But I'm convinced that this will really help the modality to spread out in the traditional field of the application, which meaning epilepsy and so on. But generally, there's also a lot of attention in the MEG market for the MEG in the market. We can see easily there's when you look at the publication out there, exactly these publications indicated that there's a lot of potential for usage beyond epilepsy. There are also new applications on the horizon, for example, the use of MEG in diagnostic traumatic brain injury, for example. But in the end, I want to say that the key of the success is the ease of use for the diagnostic pipeline, introduced with an intuitive software solution that will play an important role here when you combine it with the very good and latest MEG technology. Taking these facts into account, yes, I see a really great future for MEG.
Well, we've come to the end of our session today. Thank you very much for your time, Toby and Harald. This has been a really interesting discussion on your background and how MEGIN and BESA are working together as strategic software partners. And thanks again for your time today, and we're looking forward to a collaborative future.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. It was great talking to you. Have a good day.